Let me spend some time here, because this is where everything begins. A losing philosophy always has a favorite habit, and that habit is blame. Blame is seductive, it feels intelligent, it sounds reasonable, it even gathers sympathy, but it quietly steals your future while making you feel justified. And if you don't confront it, it will build a comfortable prison around your potential. You see, it's easy to point outward. It's easy to say the economy is slow. It's easy to say opportunities are limited. It's easy to say you didn't grow up with advantages. All of that may be true, but here's what's more important. It does not improve your life. Blame explains your past. Responsibility improves your future. And if you want to reprogram a losing philosophy, the very first step is this. You must accept full responsibility for where you are, even if it's not entirely your fault. Now that may sound harsh, but it is incredibly empowering, because the moment you say, "This is on me," something extraordinary happens. You stop waiting, you stop hoping someone rescues you, you stop negotiating with circumstances, and you begin to act. If it's someone else's fault, you have to wait for them to change. If it's the government's fault, you have to wait for policy. If it's your boss's fault, you have to wait for recognition. If it's your past's fault, you have to wait for healing. But if it's your responsibility, you can begin today. That's the shift. Responsibility is not about guilt. It's about ownership. A losing philosophy says, "This happened to me." A winning philosophy says, "What can I do about it now?" Notice the difference. One statement creates weakness, the other creates movement, and movement is life. Let me tell you something important. You cannot improve what you will not confront. If your income is low, own it. If your habits are weak, own them. If your discipline is inconsistent, own it. If your results are average, own them. Ownership removes excuses, and when excuses disappear, clarity appears. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they protect their ego more than they protect their potential. They would rather be right than be better. They say, "I could have done more," but they say, "I would have succeeded if," they say, "I didn't get the same chances," and maybe they didn't. But successful people are not the ones with the fewest obstacles. They are the ones who decided that obstacles would not be their identity. When you take responsibility, you stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start saying, "What must I become to change this?" That question changes everything. Because now the focus shifts from circumstances to character. You don't control the weather, but you control your preparation. You don't control the economy, but you control your skills. You don't control your past, but you control your discipline today. Responsibility gives you leverage, and leverage is powerful. Imagine two people in the same situation. Same job, same income, same background. One says, "This company doesn't pay enough." The other says, "How can I increase my value?" 5 years later, their lives will not look the same. The first person waited. The second person grew. That's the difference between blame and responsibility. Blame freezes you in time. Responsibility moves you forward. Now let's go deeper. Taking responsibility also means you stop outsourcing your emotional state. You stop letting people decide whether you're motivated. You stop allowing circumstances to determine your effort. You stop negotiating with your standards. You say, "Whether I feel like it or not, I'm responsible for my growth, responsible for my mindset, responsible for my effort, responsible for my results." And when you truly adopt that philosophy, something inside you strengthens. You become less reactive and more proactive, less fragile and more focused, less dependent and more decisive. You stop saying, "I hope things change," and you start saying, "I will change things." That's maturity. That's leadership. That's power. Now listen carefully. Taking responsibility does not mean beating yourself up. It does not mean shame. It does not mean regret becomes your identity. It means you learn. It means you assess without emotion. It means you say, here's where I am, here's what I did, here's what I didn't do, and here's what I'm going to change. Calm, clear, decisive, because the fastest way to reprogram a losing philosophy is to stop defending it. Stop defending why you're stuck. Stop defending why it's hard. Stop defending why you haven't started. Instead, declare a new standard. Say to yourself, from this day forward, I am responsible for my mornings, responsible for my learning, responsible for my income, responsible for my direction, and the moment you do that, you stop being a victim of your story and you become the author of your future. If it's going to change, it's up to me. Now, once you've taken responsibility, truly taken it, the next step in reprogramming a losing philosophy is this: you must replace excuses with better questions. You see, the mind is always asking questions all day long, quietly, constantly. Why does this always happen to me? Why is this so hard? Why am I not as lucky as them? And here's what most people don't realize. Your brain will always answer the questions you ask it. Always. If you ask, why am I so unlucky? Your mind will search for evidence. It will dig through your past, pull out every disappointment, every failure, every rejection, and present it to you like proof. And then you'll say, see, I knew it. But what happened? The question shaped the answer, and the answer shaped the belief. And the belief shaped the behavior. That's how a losing philosophy reinforces itself. A losing philosophy doesn't just complain. It interrogates life with powerless questions. Why can't I catch a break? Why is success easier for others? Why should I even try? Those questions don't produce growth. They produce justification. And if you want to reprogram your thinking, you must become intentional about the questions you allow into your mind. Because better questions create better answers, and better answers create better decisions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Notice the shift. One question makes you a victim, the other makes you a student, and students grow. When something goes wrong, most people look for someone to blame, but the wise look for something to learn. They understand that every setback contains instruction, if you're willing to look for it. Let's say you failed at something. A business attempt, an interview, a relationship, a goal you didn't reach. The losing philosophy says, I'm not cut out for this. The winning philosophy asks, what skill was I missing? What preparation did I neglect? What can I improve next time? That question puts you back in control. And control is empowering. Here's another powerful shift. Stop asking, why is this so hard? And start asking, how can I become stronger? Life is hard. It's supposed to be. Difficulty is not a sign you're cursed, it's a sign you're growing. But when you constantly question difficulty, you create resistance. When you question your strength, you build it. Ask yourself daily, who do I need to become to handle the life I want? That question will stretch you. Because success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. If your income isn't where you want it to be, don't just ask, how do I make more money? Ask, how do I increase my value? If your discipline is weak, don't ask, why am I so lazy? Ask, what system would make discipline easier? If your environment is negative, don't ask, why are people like this? Ask, where can I find better influences? You see, excuses are answers that protect your comfort. Better questions challenge your comfort, and growth only happens when comfort is challenged. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your habitual questions. Habitual, that's important. It's not what you ask once during a motivational moment. It's what you ask every single day. Do you wake up asking, what's the minimum I have to do today? Or do you wake up asking, how can I make today count? Do you end the day asking, why was today so stressful? Or do you ask, what did I learn today that will make tomorrow better? These small mental shifts compound over time. Most people underestimate the power of internal dialogue. They think success is about strategy, and strategy matters. But before strategy, there is philosophy, and philosophy is shaped by thought, and thought is shaped by questions. So if you want to change your philosophy, you must audit your questions, listen to yourself. When something goes wrong, what do you say internally? When someone succeeds, what do you think? When you face fear, what question appears first? If the first question is defensive, doubtful, or blaming, that's your cue. That's the old programming speaking, and you don't fight old programming with emotion, you replace it with better language. Instead of, I can't do this, say, how can I learn to do this? Instead of, this isn't fair, say, how can I respond in a way that makes me stronger? Instead of, I'm not good enough, say, what would make me better? That last one is powerful, because improvement is always available. The person with a winning philosophy doesn't have fewer problems. They simply have better questions. They ask, what's within my control? They ask, what's the next best step? They ask, how can I turn this into an advantage? And when you consistently ask empowering questions, your mind begins searching for empowering answers. Over time, your confidence grows not because life got easier, but because your perspective got stronger. You stop reacting emotionally. You start responding intelligently. You stop defending your limitations. You start expanding your capabilities, and slowly, almost quietly, your losing philosophy begins to dissolve. Not because you forced it away, but because you replaced it. Replace excuses with better questions, and you replace weakness with growth. Ask better questions, and your life will give you better answers. Now, once you begin asking better questions, something interesting happens. Your awareness sharpens, you start noticing influences, you start recognizing patterns, you begin to see that your philosophy did not appear out of nowhere, it was shaped. And that brings us to something most people underestimate. Your associations and your information are programming you every single day. Whether you realize it or not, you are being influenced by the conversations you tolerate, by the voices you listen to, by the content you consume, by the standards your circle accepts. A losing philosophy is rarely created in isolation. It is absorbed. Spend enough time around people who complain, and complaining begins to sound intelligent. Spend enough time around people who settle, and settling begins to feel normal. Spend enough time around people who mock ambition, and ambition begins to feel foolish. You don't wake up one morning deciding to think small. You drift there gradually. That's why if you want to reprogram a losing philosophy, you must become intentional about your environment. Because environment is stronger than willpower. You can have strong intentions, but if you surround yourself with mediocrity long enough, your standards begin to adjust downward. It happens subtly, quietly, without announcement, and one day you look around and realize you've become comfortable with things that once disturbed you. Comfort is not always a sign of progress. Sometimes it is a sign of stagnation, so you must ask yourself, who am I around most often? What are we talking about? What is considered acceptable in that circle? What is considered impossible? If your circle constantly discusses problems but never solutions, that affects you. If your circle laughs at discipline and celebrates shortcuts, that affects you. If your circle sees success as luck rather than effort, that affects you. You cannot consistently associate with negative influences and expect a positive philosophy. It doesn't work. Now listen carefully, this is not about arrogance. It's not about abandoning people. It's about protecting your future. You can love people without adopting their limitations. You can care about someone without copying their mindset. But if you want to grow, You must spend more time around people who stretch you than people who soothe you. Because growth requires stretch, and it's not just people, it's information. What are you feeding your mind every day? Is it news that fuels fear? Is it content that reinforces excuses? Is it entertainment that normalizes mediocrity? Or is it ideas that challenge you, principles that strengthen you, stories that expand your belief? Your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant repeatedly will grow. Plant doubt consistently, and doubt grows. Plant discipline consistently, and discipline grows. Plant ambition consistently, and ambition grows. You cannot plant weeds and expect fruit. If you want a new philosophy, you need new input. That might mean reading books that challenge your thinking. It might mean listening to voices that demand more from you. It might mean limiting conversations that drain your ambition. And here's something powerful to remember. You don't have to dramatically change everything overnight. Small upgrades compound. Spend 30 minutes a day learning something valuable. Spend time weekly with someone who inspires progress. Reduce exposure to negativity gradually. These small adjustments reshape your mental environment, and over time, your standards rise. You begin to notice things you once ignored. You begin to feel uncomfortable with excuses you once justified. You begin to crave growth more than comfort. That's reprogramming. Most people try to change behavior without changing environment. That's exhausting. It's like trying to stay dry in the rain without moving indoors. If you want consistency, create conditions that support it. If you want ambition, surround yourself with it. If you want discipline, observe it. Success leaves clues. But you must position yourself close enough to see them. And here's another truth. Proximity influences belief. If you've never been around someone who earns at a high level, thinks strategically, or operates with extreme discipline, it may seem unrealistic. But once you see it up close, once you hear how they think, once you observe how they decide, your belief expands. You start thinking, if they can do it, perhaps I can too. Belief expands through exposure, so upgrade your exposure. Guard your mental diet the way you would guard your physical diet. You wouldn't eat junk food all day and expect peak health. Yet many people consume mental junk constantly and expect peak performance. Be selective, be intentional, be protective, because your philosophy is fragile in its early stages of change. If you are trying to build a new mindset, you must shield it from constant contradiction. Spend time around people who hold higher standards than you. It may feel uncomfortable at first, that's good. Discomfort is often a sign you're stretching. Spend time learning from those ahead of you. Listen more than you speak. Observe how they handle problems. Notice how they respond to setbacks. You'll find something consistent. They don't think like average people. And the more you immerse yourself in stronger thinking, the weaker your old philosophy becomes. You don't argue with your old mindset. You outgrow it, and eventually the conversations you once enjoyed feel shallow. The excuses you once made feel embarrassing. The standards you once accepted feel too low. That is the power of upgraded associations and information. Show me your environment, and I'll show you your future. Change your environment, and you change your direction. Now, after you've taken responsibility, after you've upgraded your questions, after you've improved your associations and your information, there is one final step that makes all of it real. Discipline, because philosophy without discipline is just conversation. You can believe the right things. You can ask powerful questions. You can surround yourself with inspiring people, but if your daily actions don't change, your life won't change. A losing philosophy often hides inside delay. I'll start tomorrow. I'll get serious next month. I'll commit when things calm down. But tomorrow is the most dangerous word in the language of underachievement. A winning philosophy says, I start now, not dramatically, not emotionally, just decisively. You see, reprogramming your life is not a single bold act. It is a series of small, repeated disciplines practiced long enough to create a new identity. Small disciplines seem insignificant in the moment. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel life-changing. Waking up an hour earlier doesn't feel dramatic. Saving a small percentage of income doesn't feel powerful. Practicing a skill for 30 minutes doesn't feel extraordinary. But here is what most people miss. Success is rarely explosive. It is accumulative. Small disciplines compound, and so do small neglects. If you skip reading today, nothing happens. If you skip practice today, nothing happens. If you delay effort today, nothing happens. But repeat that pattern for 5 years, and everything happens. Your results are the visible expression of your invisible habits. A losing philosophy says, I don't feel like it. A winning philosophy says, I do it whether I feel like it or not. That's maturity. Emotions are temporary. Discipline is reliable. If you wait until you feel motivated, you will live inconsistently. If you act based on commitment instead of mood, you will live powerfully. The person who succeeds is not always the most talented. They are often the most consistent. Consistency is a decision, and here's something important. Discipline is easier when it becomes identity-based. Instead of saying, I'm trying to wake up early, say, I am someone who wakes up early. Instead of saying, I'm trying to be more productive, say, I am disciplined. When your behavior aligns with identity, effort decreases. That's why repetition matters. Each disciplined action is a vote for the person you are becoming. You don't change your life in a year, you change your life in a day, and then you repeat that day. That's the formula. It's not glamorous, it's not dramatic, but it is powerful. Let's be honest, most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in 5 years. They want immediate transformation, they want visible results quickly, and when progress feels slow, they revert. But reprogramming takes patience. Think about it, your losing philosophy wasn't built overnight. It was built through years of repeated thoughts, repeated excuses, repeated habits. So you must build the new one the same way through repetition, daily reading, daily reflection, daily action, daily discipline, and here's where it becomes exciting. At first, discipline feels forced. You have to remind yourself. You have to push yourself. You have to resist comfort. But eventually, something shifts. The very actions that once felt uncomfortable become natural. Waking up early no longer feels painful. Learning daily no longer feels optional. Keeping promises to yourself no longer feels difficult. Why? Because you've become the kind of person who does those things. That's the real transformation. Not just improved results, improved identity. And once identity shifts, results follow automatically. The disciplined person doesn't negotiate with distractions. The disciplined person doesn't argue with commitment. The disciplined person doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They act, and action builds confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen trust with yourself, and self-trust is powerful. It creates momentum, it creates certainty, it creates belief. Without discipline, you doubt yourself. With discipline, you respect yourself, and when you respect yourself, your standards rise. You no longer tolerate laziness from yourself. You no longer tolerate excuses from yourself. You no longer tolerate delay from yourself. That's when the losing philosophy is completely replaced. Because now, it's not just new thinking, it's new behavior, and behavior repeated long enough becomes destiny. So, don't look for intensity, look for consistency. Don't look for dramatic change, look for daily change. Decide on a few key disciplines that align with the person you want to become and protect them. Guard your mornings. Guard your study time. Guard your effort. Guard your standards and remember this: you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Build disciplined systems and your philosophy will solidify. Act daily in alignment with who you intend to become, and your life will follow.